Chainsaw tip number 1, oil. When you get a new thing of oil, instead of ripping that tip off, just put a small little triangle and it'll pour so much better. Won't all dump out at once. Huge, important tip. Tip number 2, very important. When you take the oil cap off, very carefully with your finger pull all the muck out before it falls inside, because that'll clog up the oiler. Really important. You got to do that. Do it for the gas and the oil. You don't want any of that crap falling down inside there. Tip number 3, when you've got a brand new container full of oil, it's going to pour out faster. So be very careful, but you can see that it's a nice controlled pour. If I had it all the way open, it would have come flooding out and made a big mess. It's also important to oil in an area where you're not going to have any overflow that falls on the concrete or the grass or an area that's going to be a problem. And you can see I didn't spill anything. Tip number 4, the bar is every bit as important as the chain. And this little edge on the bar, you've got to keep it filed down so that it doesn't grab. Tip number 5, those little oil ports, those little tiny ports right there, those will clog up as well. So you've got to run a little wire through there. Tip number 6, I did this intentionally. I overfilled the oil. And if you overfill the oil and put the cap back on, it floods and it makes a mess every time. So don't fill it all the way up. Tip number 8, don't forget the air cleaner. I know it's best to blow it out, but on the job site, you can tap a lot of it out of there, and you should do that, every single day. You don't want it clogging up. And a great way to check it is to turn it inside and look up into the sun so that you can see through it. If you can see light through your air filter, it's working. And finally, tip number 9. When you get a lot of debris buildup, this is pitch, and especially on oak trees and pine trees, you get a buildup. You've got to keep that clean, because the thickness of the bar is just a hair under what the width of the chain is. So if you got buildup on the bar, then it ends up dragging in the cut. Really important. You've got to get it all scraped off. That and the burr on the edge of the bar, that you've got to keep filed down, because the bar is supposed to clear the cut all the way through. And you've got anything dragging in the kerf while you're making the cut, all that slows you down. Had this big valley oak limb break yesterday. It was a really long limb with very little foliage on it. It was going straight out. Boy, these people got lucky.